Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're back with another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. This one we started a little early. We were gonna go at 4, just pre-recorded, but we said, hell, let's go live, man. This Courtland Sutton news is going on, and we wanted to talk to the people about it. That's what I wanted to do. We also have other stuff going on, which we'll get into later in the show. But let's get into it straight off the bat, Zach. Courtland Sutton in an Instagram post. This is what he said. And you let me know if this sounds like he's leaving or not. Broncos country, I'm very grateful to be able to have finished off another season here in Denver. Unfortunately, we weren't able to accomplish our main goal. I'm still grateful for all my teammates and the support staff that have been riding with me all season. I know all things happen for a reason, and I trust my God's plan over everything, including whatever is next for me. Just know I gave everything to this team and organization every time I stepped on the field. All love, 14. Sounds a little like he's leaving to me, Zach. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's definitely what it sounds like. I think you're definitely right there. I'm not panicking yet. I don't know what he's going to do. I think the Broncos have all the leverage in this situation. He's under contract.
You're assuming that it's him wanting to leave, though. You
Yeah,
don't
I
think
don't
he
think
could
they're
have
making
heard that the Broncos are, hey, we're throwing you out there for trade. You're really our only guy of value that we figure we could get the highest pick out of. We don't have much draft capital and we're looking to rebuild.
It's possible, but his name's been in trade rumors was in trade rumors last year. And also that's kind of why I'm not concerned about this. Looking up Courtland Sutton just to get the thumbnail or like the photo for this thumbnail, I stumbled across a piece that was like, what was it exactly? Courtland Sutton says, "I just want to be where I'm wanted," from like March of last year when like the trade rumors first started. And nothing happened about it. And it was brought up again around this trade deadline and nothing happened about it. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think anything would happen. I think maybe he understands that there's a possibility he could leave. Like, I think he's a smart guy. I think you look at the Russ cut, you look at the possibilities there cap wise, and it's totally possible that if they do a pre-June 1st cut, actually, really, if they do a pre-June 1st cut, which is a possible option, they're going to kind of be forced to move on from Sutton. So it's not an like, I think that's kind of where it's coming from. I don't think anything's in stone yet. I think this might just be a case of squeaky wheel gets the grease. They can restructure him, give him some cash up front to make him happy. He was also already an extension candidate this offseason. That contract looks a lot better right now, and extending him is a little healthier way to kind of play with the cap and mitigate some of his cap hit this year to free up some space while keeping him in Denver, which I think is ideal because you need good players. Like, I think that gets lost in like the teardown thing. You need good players. Like, look at the Bears and how they're kind of just circling the drain still. You need good players. Like, trading Roquan Smith, I don't know how much that really helped them in the long run. I don't think they could have paid him $25 million or whatever, but you need some foundational building blocks. And I think Courtland Sutton's a perfect one. You look at this offense, no weapons outside of Courtland Sutton you feel great about. And you're going to have, at some point in the near future, a rookie quarterback in there. I think Courtland Sutton would be a great security blanket to give that rookie quarterback. I think he's like the building block in terms of offensive weapons. You got to keep him, in my opinion.
I will say this, though, as far as it, just if I'm playing, because I ultimately do agree with you on what you're saying. I do wonder, I think I'm a little more skeptical about this post just because if Courtland is saying, just know I gave everything to this team and organization every time I stepped on the field, he's being super extra unless he has heard something that he's leaving or he's planning on doing something. He's being super extra. If it's just, well, I might have to go, and this is the post, that it would be super extra. So I maybe am. I think I'm reading into this more than you are, Zach. I think that there's actually something to this. I see athletes do crazy stuff all the time. Usually what the athlete does at this moment. It's not the post. It's the delete Broncos content off the Instagram and then the tweet the eye emojis on Twitter. It's not like a goodbye letter.
Or unfollow him. And he changed his emoji, or not his emoji, profile picture to not be a Broncos things. That might be something, but all the Broncos stuff is still on his page. I'm curious what his like sign off post last season looked like, if it's still up. I'm trying to see if I can find that, because I wonder if it was something pretty similar. I have a feeling it might be. No, I can't find one. So maybe it wasn't. But I don't know. I think this is kind of like just part of modern negotiating in the sports world. You know, unfollowing the teams, the eyeball emojis. And I think most of the time it doesn't lead to anything. Some of the time it absolutely does lead to something. Totally. But I think more often than not, it gets solved. Does anyone remember the Deebo Samuel? No, we're talking about, could he be gone in the future? There's been no even rumors that he's been traded. It's just like, you know, is he maybe asking for this, just to clarify a comment we've got coming in here. But yeah, I just don't think it's likely. More often than not, this gets solved. Oh, the Deebo Samuel example. He's in a club. Someone sends him like, you know, the dancers with the sign, and it says congratulations on San Francisco 49ers and Deebo Samuel's contract extension or whatever. And this is while they had like a stalemate. And he's like looking at people and he's like, no, he's not into it. He's like, that stalemate got really nasty. If people remember that, they gave him a little more money. He couldn't be happier to be a 49er now. It just,
here's the thing.
Money and winning
Broncos, I think you're ruling too much out that the Broncos could be the team. I think you're just ruling out the fact that the Broncos could be the ones trying to shop Courtland Sutton.
But not in December. Or I guess it's January, but not while the playoffs are going on. I guess it could be something under the table, but if it's that under the table, you're not informing the player about it.
No, I'm not saying that the trade is finalized or they're out there shopping him right now, but it definitely could get back to the agent that the Broncos are more than likely going to trade you this offseason. That's possible.
My theory is more, I think, because this is a time when like we do see some contract extension stuff come out. If people remember, like I think Chris Harris Jr. and Derek Wolfe signed their contract extensions around this time when they were with the Broncos. I think they probably approached him about a restructure, because no matter what, they're probably going to do something to reduce his $17 million cap hit this year.
Right.
And maybe it was a restructure that wasn't straight up restructure, that you're not losing any money. We're just kind of moving the money around. Maybe they were trying to take some of the money off his plate, and he was going, nah, fuck that, and is kind of doing this as a little retaliation. It could be getting back to him that maybe they're going to trade him. And again, I think that's maybe a possibility down the line. I think we're so far from that at this point. I get why people are nervous, and it's not a fun thing to see one of your best players putting stuff like that out on social media. But I think more often than not, this gets resolved. And again, even if it's the Broncos shopping him, the Broncos spent 6 months shopping him last year. They spent a month at least shopping him at the front end of this season. And continuously have decided to keep him. And then he put together his best tape since the last time they recently decided to keep him. I don't think he's going to get moved.
Okay. So let's go on this line of thinking here. What would it take for you to be convinced, okay, I would make that trade involving Courtland Sutton? I want to know your line. What is the limit? How high are you on Courtland Sutton? And what would it take?
I think I'd want like a top 50 pick. I think that's probably a little rich. So maybe I could do top 60, but
okay. So I'm not asking what you think he'll get. I'm asking.
No, I'm saying like where, if I'm the GM, no, that's where I'd be. Like, I think I'd draw the line at 50. Maybe I could get talked into like something top 60. You got to get an impact, because here's the thing. Again, the Broncos they're tearing things down, and you're going to soon be throwing an inexperienced quarterback into this situation. He's going to have, I think, a solid offensive line, but you need more. You need give him a weapon. Look at what Jamar, and I know Courtland Sutton isn't Jamar Chase, but look at what Jamar Chase did for Joe Burrow's development, or Tyreek Hill did for Tua's development. Having a real weapon, AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. And I understand Courtland Sutton isn't that A-tier weapon, but having a guy does change things. And I don't know. It'd have to be a high price for me. I think you're putting yourself in a bad situation. You are freeing up $10 million, and that's great, but you are creating such a hole at wide receiver. Because guess what? Jerry Jeudy's getting traded to this offseason. You're going to be in a spot where Brandon Johnson's your number one wide receiver and Lil Jordan Humphrey's your number two.
I think you're probably. I think you would probably go into that thinking that you would do something else.
I agree, but look at the options for $10 million, and then what is the something else? Maybe it's a wide receiver.
Maybe it's your first round pick
at 12. But okay, what if the
maybe it's Rome Odunze?
Three.
What?
What if the big three go in the top 10 picks? Odunze, Neighbors, and Harrison. It sounds like there's a very good chance they could go in the top 10 now. I don't know. Do you want
Brian Thomas? You still got players. You got Keon Coleman. You still got the wide receiver class is extraordinary good. We're talking about Brian Thomas and Keon Coleman being top 10 picks 3 years ago, easy. I don't think that's much of a question. I think we're looking at a wide receiver class, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. That's my main.
It's good content. I'm fine.
This wide receiver class and the last few, how much better is Courtland Sutton than Tank Dell was for the Houston Texans? And Tank Dell was a third-round pick or a late second-round pick. I don't remember. But that's the type of talent you're getting from the NFL draft nowadays. Even later on, maybe even third round, you're getting guys that are contributing in year one.
And I agree. But my thing is, okay, let's say you draft a guy in the third round or even in the first round, and he becomes better than Courtland Sutton or equivalent. It's a Tank Dell level talent. It's a Jordan Addison level talent. It could maybe even be something better than that. Great. If that's your only guy, you're still not setting that quarterback up all that well. I would much rather give that quarterback that weapon and Courtland Sutton. Build this offense up some rather than tearing it down. Courtland Sutton was, I think, got the most captain votes of anyone on this on the offense. He's an incredibly valuable leader in the locker room, and arguably the most talented player on that offense. I would make that work. And I agree, Marvin Mims, I don't want to overlook him. I did space on his name earlier when I was saying Brandon Johnson and Lil Jordan Humphrey.
Stop overlooking Marvin Mims, guys.
But Mims is right now, Mims is a great kick returner, and we need more from him as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good chance that happens, though, is what I will say. I do. Yeah. I think there's a really good chance.
Why?
Well, I evaluate up. If I really liked Marvin Mims, he was my first player taken in the draft. I expect him to get better from year one to year two. That's my whole thing. I wouldn't expect him to just stalemate stop.
But I don't know. I don't feel great about a wide receiver room that's Keon Coleman, Marvin Mims, Brandon Johnson next year. I don't know. That doesn't give me.
What if you didn't trade Jeudy?
That would be so surprising. I think
I'm just throwing it out there, Zach Seegers. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. I haven't seen a goodbye post from Jerry Jeudy online, and that's the one that feels like he might as well be gone. That's what's crazy.
Here's the argument against the Jeudy bit of it. Okay, moving Jeudy against keeping Jeudy and moving Sutton. Moving Jeudy will free up $13 million in cap space and incur zero dead cap space. It's one of the biggest levers, financial levers, the Broncos can pull this offseason to free up money. I think it's one of the offseason moves I'm most confident about, if not the offseason move I'm most confident about at this point. For that reason, Courtland Sutton, on the other hand, you free up $9 million and incur $7 million in dead cap. So it's, I don't know.
But here's the other side of the coin. is that for Courtland Sutton, I might be getting, you said, a top 60 pick. Possibly that's what you would take
True.
for Courtland Sutton. And for Jerry Jeudy, I might be getting a 4th round pick.
Not you'd be lucky to get a 4th rounder.
That's the opposite point there. So if I'm higher on Jerry Jeudy than a 4th, and I'm like, okay, I want that high premium draft pick, that would be the flip side of that. I don't know. I think the Broncos could go in multiple directions. Here's my point. I'm going to give my actual stance on Sutton. I wouldn't trade him. I feel like he's perfect guy to add to this room with. I'm playing devil's advocate largely. I don't think I would trade him. Now, I'm in the same boat with Zach. If I had a line to draw, I might stretch it a little further than you. I'd probably go like top 75 pick. If they could give me top 75 area, I would feel okay trading him. I wouldn't feel like it's the end of the world. I don't think Courtland Sutton – here's the thing. I think he was ultimately the best player on this offense, or one of the best players on this offense, and the receivers did nothing else. You could blame that multiple directions. I think I could make a compelling argument to Zach here that a lot of that is because of our quarterback at the time, that receivers weren't getting that much involved. And maybe in our heads, because of that, Sutton is made out to be a little better than what fans in Broncos country are making it out to be. Maybe. I'm just saying, like, if I were to rank the wide receivers in the NFL, does Courtland Sutton crack my top 20? This is an argument I was having with Frankie. And we went down, and it's probably not. Like, he's probably more in that 30 range. How is that an irreplaceable player?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point that it's possible this last season it felt like Courtland Sutton's value might have been a little inflated because, as we've talked about, this offense was not targeting the middle of the field. I think they were 31st. I've been saying 32nd. I was wrong. It's 31st between the hashes in terms of targets, and then 32nd on the first 20 yards of the field. So that's a giant like upside down T that you're just crossing off. And then what are you left with? Deep boundary shots. What's Courtland Sutton pretty awesome with? Yeah. Deep boundary shots. Yeah. And then he just had an incredible season in terms of catching the ball. I think that's another thing. I said this somewhere. I think it was on this show. But I think you got to worry about a little regression there next year, just because it was insane. Like that's one of the all-time like insane catch seasons I've ever seen. Like it feels like that's probably likely to come back down to earth.
Just like that. Do you remember that Brandon Lloyd year with the Broncos? Yeah. It was like kind of like that.
And Courtland Sutton's a better player than Brandon Lloyd, but like Brandon Lloyd didn't do that again. Or like he had 2019 and the injury was all to his lower body, but he didn't have those crazy catch years in 2020, or that was the injury year, but in 2021 or 2022. So I think that's something I'd watch out for too. I do think you can make a compelling case for it. If you do trade him though, oh my God, because it is a great wide receiver draft class. Do the Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler thing again. It didn't work out last time, but look at like the hit rate of first and second and even like third round wide receivers over the last 7 years. It is maybe the most talent rich position in the draft consistently. And this is an especially strong wide receiver class. I would throw a lot of, honestly, no matter what the Broncos do, they should throw a good amount of capital at adding weapons. I think your line's solid. Maybe get some depth pieces to groom and develop behind there. But I think the Broncos moving forward should be focused on building an offensive foundation. That's how you build sustainable winning in the NFL. And it's something the Broncos haven't done for damn near a decade.
Just to add on to your point, man, like think about the Michigan State wide receiver that went to the Packers, right? Reed, right? He had a good year. I'm looking at his stats, 793 yards. Rashee Rice, 938 yards. Puka had 1,500 yards. Zay Flowers, 858. Josh Downs, 771. Rookie wide receivers are producing, man, and they're drafted all over the place. It's cool to see. I saw this one. This one's interesting. I'm excited to see him. I'm going to Mobile, and I want to see Luke McCaffrey because he's going to be down there. That's going to be interesting. But let's go into the main topic of the show. I think we talked a good bit about Courtland Sutton and everything with that. Guys, we're going to – oh, go ahead, Zach.
Sorry, just some more names. I wanted to look up rookie receiving leaders. There's maybe some construction going on. I'm sorry if people can hear that. Okay. goodness. Dontavian Wicks, he was like undrafted. Michael Wilson, he was like a 7th round pick. He did great. Trey Palmer was like a 6th round pick. He looked awesome for the Bucks. Hyatt fell to like what the 3rd round or so, and was really good in spurts this season, despite having like no quarterback. I just, take shots throughout the draft. They need some juice in this passing, in this offense in general. Get some help. I'm done.
It's interesting looking at the receivers too, because like Jonathan Mingo and Quentin Johnston, similar type of receivers, both underwhelming seasons there for your rookie wide receivers, but similar types. Maybe that's something to keep in mind for you draft guys. But let's move on. We are going to be going over Wildcard Weekend, and we're going to be picking who will win these games straight up. Zach, I want to start to you with this Browns-Texans game. And guys, please in the chat, join in. I'm really interested in your guys' opinion on these games as well. Who do you have in the Browns-Texans game starting tomorrow? It's at 2:30, and it is in Houston.
I'm going with the Texans. I don't know. Joe Flacco's Cinderella story has to end eventually. This is kind of ridiculous. He is just throwing things up, and he's getting away with a lot, in my opinion. And I don't know how sustainable it is. I think that's part of it. The other part, and I know the Browns recently blew them out, but they didn't have CJ Stroud. And man, CJ Stroud is a special quarterback. I think he's going to be the rare rookie that does pretty well in the playoffs, in his first playoff start. And they've got home field, which I think really matters in the playoffs. I'm going with the Texans.
I think this is a really close game here. I am not fully on that this will end tomorrow, Zach. I'm not on board with that with Joe Flacco, man. He's playing good. It is a lot of fuck it ball out there playing for Joe Flacco, but there's not a lot of that going on in the NFL. Tell me. There's not. He can put up big yards and win football games playing like that.
But you're risking turnovers, and it feels like eventually those high variance plays, he's been hitting on them, and it feels like eventually it's going to go the other way.
No, he's been turning the ball over. He has been.
I know, but
the entire time he's been turning the ball over. There's
not like he was for the Jets.
It's working both ways. It is working both ways. He's getting a shit ton of yards, and he's throwing a lot of interceptions on his way, and it's working for the Browns.
Yeah, but you're playing CJ Stroud here. I don't know. I think if you're giving them extra possessions, you're going to be in trouble. I also think this Texans defense is set up pretty well to stop the Browns rushing attack and force it to be on Joe Flacco's shoulder. I don't know. Are you going with the Browns here?
No, I'm going to go Houston as well, but I think it's a close game. I think it's really close. I'm not predicting. This one's not an easy pick for me. I think my heart's in this one as well. Huge CJ Stroud fan right here. Massive CJ Stroud fan. You guys can go look up at JR Drafts and then type in D'Amico's name, and you're going to see I am a massive D'Amico Ryans fan in last year's coaching cycle as well. I want them to win just because I've been fans of both those guys. So shout out to them all day. I'm rooting for the Texans. Next up on the slate, we will be let's do Dolphins Chiefs. That one's tomorrow at 6. That is snow game to the max, freezing cold. There's a statement put out by the Chiefs where it was like, it's dangerous if you don't go covering your face and stuff like that. Like, please cover up because it's dangerous levels cold. Who do you have in this one?
I mean, first of all,
can I start off with a different question?
Yeah,
let's talk about that type of weather favors here.
It's got to be the Chiefs. They're the defensive team. The Dolphins have a good defense too, and I think if Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb were still healthy, they might even, or maybe even one of those guys, they may still have the better of the two defenses. That's a little underrated. The Chiefs' defense has kind of come back down to earth over the second half of the season. Not that it's like a bad defense, but it's not as dominant as it once was. And then you get, I don't know, Dolphins were a great defense, but they're like just such a finesse team. The thing that they always struggle with is when the timing gets thrown off. It's like, I I love the analogy I've heard with Mike McDaniel's offenses where it's or offense in Miami where it's like this incredible machine, but if you throw a grain of sand in it, it can kind of malfunction a little bit. And I think that's what I think that's what it is. Like against the Chargers last year, they just jammed him at the line a little bit. It threw off the timing and they really struggled. I think we've seen that with Tua this year when teams like the Bills clogged the middle of the field, threw off his timing a little bit. The offense cratered. And I think you're going to kind of see that here. I think you're going to see the timing thrown off by crazy weather conditions, or at least maybe the passes thrown off by the crazy wind. And they're going to be stuck in the sleet and snow. Meanwhile, the Chiefs just need to methodically move their way down the field. They've got a great run game. They've got safe chain mover and like Travis Kelce. And then Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league at creating magic.
I think, okay, but let's look at it through this lens, though, because what you didn't mention is Miami's run game, which I think Mike McDaniel will have cranked up for that game. And Miami's run game is really, really solid. The other aspect of this is, here's where I do agree. Do I trust Tua's arm in this freezing cold wind right now? I go back and forth. But let's say that he can get the ball in and out a little bit. Which team do I like more in the quick game? If I'm just saying, okay, quick passing game, I really like the Dolphins. I like Tyreek Hill. I like Jalen Waddle in that aspect. Ultimately, I agree with you. I want the Dolphins to win pretty desperately, but the weather favors the Chiefs to me. I like this comment. Christopher Hart says, I hope A-Chain runs for 300 yards on KC. I do too, and he looked good last week on his 10 carries. So I would expect a healthy dose of A-Chain tomorrow in that game. So you're going to Kansas City on the win.
I think I am, but A-Chan, one of my favorite players in the league to watch right now. I'm so happy he worked out. I did not think it was going to work out this well, but my goodness, he is incredible. Really quick on the Chiefs defense. Second half of the season, they're 15th in EPA per play overall, 16th in EPA per play against the run. So they're just kind of a middling defense now. So I don't know. I could see
I think
having a James Gray.
Yeah.
Couldn't you see this being like a Patriots Colts like James Gray game where it's just like, oh, he went for 350 yards, kind of led the day. But I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. They've been here more, and I'm disappointed. I'm gonna be rooting hard for the Dolphins, but I'll say Chiefs. I didn't give a score in the last one, but this one I'll say 17-13. It's gonna be low scoring.
So I'm going back and forth on the weather thing crazy because Tua is ultimately the biggest reason as to why I picked the Chiefs in this one right now. But the Dolphins, their team is built better to play in the cold to me outside of quarterback. I really do think so. I think if I'm looking at because I'm looking at quick game for my wide receivers, I'm trying to get the ball in and out. I have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And then secondly, my run game is a monster. And I have all these crazy motions going across the field. Someone slips. I don't know. There's all this crazy stuff that could happen. I just feel like they're built like it. But also they're the Miami Dolphins. Emphasis on Miami. So I could be completely wrong here. But I'm picking the Chiefs as well. We need to find a agree on, Zach.
Tua Tagovailoa, for what it's worth, in his NFL and college career, he's only played in 3 games colder than 40 degrees. He's 0-3 in them, with losses of 31, 30, and 3 points.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We will see. And then we have on Sunday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling down to Buffalo to play the Bills. This one's interesting to me, Zach. Where are you going?
Really? I think the Bills cruise. I think the Bills roll. I mean, Mason Rudolph, to talk about a Cinderella story having to end. Mason Rudolph, come on down. That is not going to last. Maybe this is going to age horribly. And if it does, I'm going to be happy to look back and laugh at it. But oh my God, he's got to fall apart here sooner rather than later. I think McDermott has actually done a pretty good job with the Bills defense over the second half of this season. They've been playing really good really well, despite their injuries on that side of the ball. And then Josh Allen's been awesome. Like he is making too many mistakes, admittedly. He's playing some hero ball, but man, when it's on, it's on. And I think he is a huge reason they closed the season, if not always the biggest reason they closed the season on a 6-game win streak, 7-game win streak, whatever it was. They're going to cruise. They're going to cruise. I think they're so much better than the Steelers.
I think they're better than the Steelers too, but I think they've been better than every single team they've lost to this year. And it's been largely disappointing because of that. That's why, like, I really don't have a rhyme or reason here other than that they've disappointed this year. Like even in their last games, all of them are close. They're in close games with everybody, the Bills, and they don't always win them. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh. I think this is just a disappointing year from Buffalo.
Wow. I'm glad I'm picking up a point on you. Here. Sweet. Thank you. I appreciate that.
This is where I make up ground because Zach's just going to pick the favorites.
Get ready. Get ready for our NFC one here.
I will. At 2:30, we have Packers-Cowboys. Packers going down to Jerry's World. Zach, is this your upset here? Are you going Packers?
I'm tempted to. This one's the hardest one for me to pick. I need to think about it. I need to think about it.
I need your reasoning. Okay.
The Cowboys, I think, often come up small in these spots. I think there is something about like the lights being a little too bright for them. Maybe I'm silly to buy into that, but I do buy into that. I think their defense has proven to be super pedestrian recently, especially against the run. They just got bowled over down the stretch by any team that had like a decent rushing attack. And I think this Packers team can run the ball pretty well. And not only that, but Jordan Love, from what I've been hearing from my national podcasts, is playing like a top 5 quarterback, the top 3 quarterback, where maybe the Cowboys don't have a quarterbacking advantage. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to feast in this game. The Packers defense is also pretty bad, and they're especially bad at what he's good at. I think they've given up like the most DPA on like slants, targets to slot players and targets over the middle. Guess what CeeDee likes to do? Slot, or he plays from the slot, run slants, and go over the middle. So I think it's kind of a nightmare for them on that front, but I don't know. I don't have. Give me your answer. I'm thinking. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I think they've got a.
Oh wow! You wait for the NFC. He says.
Well, you just picked one. You picked one that was a touchdown underdog right off the bat. I know where I'm going with my underdog picks here.
Okay, picks. There's 2 games left, sir.
I'm aware.
Okay, all right.
Whoa, did you say there's 2 games left or 2 games left?
Two games left.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll see. You mentioned the rushing yards, that the Cowboys aren't very good at their rush defense. The Packers are very mid. They're middle of the pack there at rushing. I do think Jordan Love is playing a lot better at football. That has been apparent to anybody that has watched them. Shout out to the Packers, man. They have the secret recipe when it comes to quarterbacks. But it's funny that you would say that the Cowboys, it might be too bright for them. We're talking about a quarterback in his first playoff appearance. The lights might be a little too bright for Jordan Love, Zach Seegers. That's where the lights might be too bright.
Yeah.
He going the Jerry world away. No, I'm going to pick the Cowboys in this, and I'm also going to pick them to cover. I think the Cowboys dominate this football game.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Courtland Sutton's recent story post. We had a comment about it here. That's all I used to say, and they ask me who I do it for, why I shine, why I grind the way I do. It's like lyrics. I don't see the Sutton just posted saying never revenge, let them realize on my story. I don't see that. Maybe he deleted it quick. All right. Atomic, give us more information there. Yeah, I think you bring up some good points. I don't know. Maybe it's bias just from seeing the Packers beat the Cowboys in like crushing ways so many times. I feel, uh, but yeah, I really think they've got a good chance in this one. I think if the Packers defense was even like functional or like even like halfway decent and not the defense that made everyone look
Pick them, Zach. Pick them. Pick them. Stop talking about. They're so close.
no,
No,
you're
pick
just trying to
them.
pick
No,
up a point on me. I'm going
no,
with the Cowboys.
it's
I'm going with the
because I
Cowboys.
hear it in your voice. You want
I'm
to
going
pick the Packers. Just do
I
it.
do, but I'm thinking with my head here, and I'm going with the Cowboys.
Wow. Okay. And then we have Rams going to Detroit, 6 p.m. game. Matthew Stafford playing his former team in the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff playing his former team in the LA Rams. This one's a fun football game to me. I think the Rams have shocked a lot of people. This is insane that they're here right now on the back of Puka, Cooper Kupp, and Kyron Williams, man. It's awesome to see. And of course, Matt Stafford, who is having an unbelievable year. So who do you have in this game?
I'm going with the Rams. I think they break the Lions fans' hearts in their first home game.
Oh God, you are wishing the worst on people.
I'm sorry. I know he has to be it's going to be what 3-point spread right now. I feel really good about the Rams. You've got Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams. And when those four are on the field together, their offense is playing like maybe the best unit in the league, at least a top 5, top 3 unit. And their defense has been surprisingly solid. They've got a really good interior pass rush with Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner, who deserves more love as maybe a defensive rookie of the year candidate. He's got, I think, 10 sacks as an interior defensive lineman. And yes, he's playing next to Aaron Donald, but you can't find another defensive tackle that's had that sack production play next to Aaron Donald. So I don't think it's just that simple. The defense I think is sneaky good. Or maybe not sneaky good, but passable. And I think the Lions defense is struggling. And I trust the Rams offense. I trust Sean McVay. I think his coaching job has maybe been the very best in the NFL this season.
Yeah. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. So you're going with the Rams. I'm going with Detroit. I can't do that, man. I can't do that to my Detroit fans, dude. They've had it the worst.
Good
They
friend.
need to win. I can't do it to the Detroit fans. And I liked what Detroit does. I think it plays favorably that they're at home as well. The Lions are a much different team at home, especially their offense, than when they are away. Jared Goff being able to play in the dome is such a big deal for this little playoffs that he has going on. So I'm going to go Detroit. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball effectively like they've been doing the entire year, set off play action pass off of that. Hopefully, that Ben Johnson, he wants to be paid all that money. This is the time to pull out all your crazy JMO trick plays and stuff like that. I'm going Detroit in this game. And then let's go to the last one here, Zach. We have the NFC Wildcard at 6 p.m. on Monday. Eagles going to Tampa. This is such a weird game. Philly to Tampa. Where do you go on this one, Zach?
Tampa. They're gross. I feel like so often these gross teams that somehow find their way into the playoff as a winner of a bad division end up defending their home field. And the Eagles are scrambling. I'm surprised the Bucs are the underdogs here because we just saw the Eagles get blown out by the Giants, which was absolutely crazy. They had something to play for in that game. Went down huge quick. Went down so huge that they just pulled their starters and were like, yeah, that's not happening. We just should rest for the playoffs. I think the vibes are awful. They weirdly kind of fired their DC without firing him and then replaced him with Matt Patricia. And the defense has gotten worse. Nick Sirianni's getting testy with the media. He looks like he's kind of fracturing under the pressure. The offense is backsliding and the defense is already looking like a bottom 5 unit in the NFL all of a sudden. I just think they're gasping for air. And Tampa, Baker Mayfield's been playing pretty good for him this year. I don't know. I think DeCamillis is doing a good job with that offense. They've got legit weapons for Baker to target. And then that defense with Todd Bowles, it's given Jalen Hurts nightmares before, and I think he's a different player now. But this offense is also a lot less threatening than it has been in the past. It's a different offense now.
Yeah. Okay. I do agree. Philly is reeling. They are reeling right now. Saw a report today. I don't know if it was real, so maybe I shouldn't repeat it. But I am anyways. Is that Sirianni could be fired after the year if they lose this game? Zach muted.
Yeah, that is real. I was listening to an interview with I think Bo Wolf. Yeah, Bo Wolf with PHLY, part of the All City Network. Shout out them. He was on a podcast I was listening to being interviewed, and he talked about how this ownership and Howie Roseman doesn't really care about what you've done in the past. It's a what are you doing for me lately situation. And, Doug Peterson won the Super Bowl and then was quickly fired after that because he made some missteps that kind of lost the locker room and there were bad vibes in there. And so they felt like they had to mix things up. It kind of feels like that's where Nick Sirianni is at right now. It just feels like if we were to rank the vibes for these playoff teams, I think Philly's a no-brainer at 14. Like they just the vibes are atrocious right now, and
But how much does experience pay like is part of this equation here? You have the Bucs led by Baker Mayfield playing the Philadelphia Eagles who won the Super Bowl. Like
do you know how many
experience?
Do you know how many playoff wins Jalen Hurts has in his career?
Are you about to shit on Jalen Hurts? What?
I do love Jalen Hurts, but I'm arguing against the case you just made. Okay, don't bring
you
up
validating my okay. All right. I have you back. Right. I have Zach backed in a corner for those that don't know right now. It's some behind the scenes stuff.
All right. Well, I don't think what playoff wins aren't the best metric anyways for like measuring how good a quarterback is. By that metric, Joe Flacco is the best quarterback in the playoffs. But in terms of measuring playoff experience, Jalen Hurts 2 career playoff wins, Baker Mayfield 1 career playoff win. So it's not like their playoff experience is all that different. I think Jalen Hurts has started 4 playoff games in total in his career, and Baker Mayfield's at 2. So yes, more experience, but I don't think it's like night and day between those two.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm also going with Tampa here. We have 2 disagreements on our schedule. It was Rams and Lions. Zach picked the Rams. I picked the Lions, and then Steelers, Bills. I went Steelers. Zach went Bills.
Yeah, thank you for that.
We'll see. We'll see, buddy. The Bills are going to disappoint you just like they've been doing the entire year. But anyways, guys, please make sure you're subscribing to Let's Talk Broncos. Zach, Bree, and I are here all the time. We have the Thursday show with Frankie and I. A lot of draft coverage coming up. A ton of cool draft coverage. There's more news coming with that. We also have some really new, exciting stuff coming down the pipeline that we can't get into just yet, involving another thing. We have a lot of cool stuff coming. We're going to game plan this offseason so crazy. You guys are going to see a different version of Let's Talk Broncos by the start of the next regular season, no question about it. Zach, do you have anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I love Let's Talk Broncos. I love our listeners and that they allow us to do this. And it really excites me. This is the most excited I've ever been about it. I, like Joey said, we can't get into it. And again, we got the last year, I think the last time we were talking about, there's something we can't talk about, but we're excited about it, was our partnership with Perna. And love Perna to death. What an absolute legend. I'm even more excited about this. What we have cooking is awesome. People are going to be surprised when it comes out, and it's going to be going to be baller. And I'm really excited for it. Like that's it's going to be it's going to be crazy.
Let
I'm
it
so
let it
excited
sit.
for it.
Let it sit. They got enough. We love everyone in here. Shout out Colin Cooper. Shout out Christopher Hart. Shout out Paul, Jair, Automatic 626. Everybody who's in the chat. Really, really, really appreciate you guys. Without you, the show wouldn't be able to do what it's doing. So shout out to everybody, and please make sure you like and subscribe. But until next time, guys, go Broncos. Enjoy playoffs
LTB
tomorrow
to
as
the
well.
moon.